So the Indiana Pacers are doing some things this year, as they are the 3rd seed in the East right now, shattering everyone's expectations of them, including my own. Victor Oladipo has been one of the best 2 guards in the league. I'm sure he'll get Most Improved Player. And while Indiana's going well this year, what I really want to focus on is this the starting point of something really good for Indiana for the next 5 to 10 seasons or so? Is that what we're looking at here with this team, or are we looking at a blip on the radar? Well, I think you really have to start with Oladipo, and you say, can he improve on where he is now, or can he even get a little better? I mean, if we assume he maintains his weight, because he lost a decent amount of it as he just got way more athletic this season, and can keep on progressing with his handle as well as his pull-up three-pointers, then we could be seeing him approaching like top 20 players in the NBA, if he's not already there based on this season. His scoring has slowed down a little bit lately. I know he had a tough night in Philadelphia recently. Did hit the big shot at the end, but overall, I think he finished with like 16, 17 points, and that's been a couple of games in a row now. But I mean, if he simply just maintains where he's at right now and doesn't get any better offensively, then that's still a really good player for you to have. But I do think he can get better as a playmaker, because, I mean, even in his, I think it was 2nd or 3rd season with the Magic, Oladipo was making plays for everybody. And so we could see a combination of that and then just this new scoring that he's been taking on. And I think Oladipo has another level to get to, which is not the normal thing to say for a 25-year-old, but I mean, no one saw this jump coming from him, right? And I remember when he was being scouted to enter the NBA, everyone always made note of his work ethic. And it seems like while it took maybe a little longer than everybody wanted it to, he finally just realized himself as a player. Now, funny enough, where he is right now is not really what people thought he was going to be. They thought he was going to be more of a defender who had to slowly build it on offense, and he's more of like a really good offensive player, and defensively he's like solid but not one of the top 7 or 8 perimeter defenders in the league, but he's still making it work. So I think it's fair to think Oladipo can get a little better off of this year, and that's just a great number 1 option. If we get to Miles Turner now, who I think you can view as the number 2 guy on this team, maybe not necessarily the 2nd best player. He probably is the 2nd best player, but you definitely look at him as the other guy who could lead them on something. He's 21 years old, and his 3-point shot, which is something that I thought was going to really explode this season, it hasn't really. It's gotten gradually better, but I feel like I say this every time I talk about him, but it's what I really believe is when I look at how good he is at long 2-pointers and how comfortable he is taking those shots and just how the shot looks when it goes in, and it goes in the majority of the time for him, as he's shooting 53% on long 2s and 42% on 10 to 16 feet jumpers. I just see no reason as to why he would not be a big-time 3-point shooter. It's taking a little longer than I thought it would, but he's shown improvement every year. I mean, right now he's taking about 2.5 a game, shooting 38%. That's a higher percentage and more attempts than last year. And with all the 3-point shots that the NBA's taken today and how we're asking big guys to step out to the perimeter, there still really isn't that many centers who are real 3-point threats. Off the top of my head, I can think of DeMarcus Cousins, Al Horford, Karl Anthony Towns, Kelly Olynyk, Porzingis when he occasionally plays center. I mean, even Al Horford doesn't play center all the time. Kevin Love when he plays center, and I'm sure I'm forgetting about a couple guys here and there, probably some role players. But still, like, there are not that many real centers who play that position all the time who are real knockdown shooters, and you see the effect that, like, DeMarcus Cousins has, because he's, like, probably the one dude who plays center pretty much all the time who can knock down threes. I mean, him and, well, I was going to say Embiid, but Embiid's kind of whatever from three. He's shooting like 30% this year. It's basically Boogie and Towns, and you see the effect that those two have as three-point shooters on opposing centers. They don't know what the hell to do half the time, because you just do a pick and pop and they just can't step out. I mean, the T-Wolves run the play where they just have Towns go like baseline to the corner and no NBA center has a chance of defending that, right? So Turner can just be a huge matchup problem for so many opposing centers if he just makes those threes. I mean, you can even see it in his highlights, just the effect that he has with the long two-pointers. NBA centers have a really tough time defending him even on those. And when the defense switches, Turner's 6'11", and he's got a pretty high and pretty quick release, with a beautiful high arc, by the way, which is another reason why I want him to shoot threes, because I just want to look at him make shots all day. But guys have a tough time really contesting him on those jumpers, so I think if he just starts shooting threes, which he has been doing lately and doing successfully, then he can just create a world of problems for the defense, and it can really open up Indiana's offense. And you have that on top of him being a pretty okay roller to the basket. He's definitely more natural of a pick and pop guy. If you look at advanced numbers, he's in like the 50th percentile of rollers to the rim, which you could see improve a little bit, but I guess that's not bad for a 21-year-old who's more about shooting the jumper than he is rolling to the basket all the time. So if he can just see some marginal improvement with that, shoot threes, and then he's actually a pretty okay post-up player. He doesn't do it too often, but when he does, he's actually in the 73rd percentile on about 1.6 post-up possessions a game. Even if he's not going to be a dude who goes at the opposing big man all the time, he can definitely post up on switches. And, I mean, he could really be like a switch murderer, almost. Because if he's going to be able to hit shots over shorter guys and post them up, you know, with Oladipo, I mean, sheesh, that's going to cause the defense to have to make some tough decisions, you know? So, I mean, I think very highly of Miles Turner. And then defensively, I mean, I don't think he's like an elite defensive big man, but he's definitely a good one. I mean, his block percentage is not too far away from Rudy Gobert's. And then the last two seasons, Indiana has been a better defensive team with Turner in the game. He moves his feet well. He's got good instincts on contesting shots. And he's kind of like deceptively athletic. He's not jump out of the gym, but he's more athletic than your average 5, I guess. So with you have Oladipo and Miles Turner as your 1-2 combination, you know, I think Oladipo can be a 25-point scorer. He's a 24-point scorer this season, so it's not that far away. Hitting pull-up threes and doing stuff in the pick and roll. And then hopefully making guys better around him a little bit more. And then Turner just being a total matchup nightmare, being a guy who I think can put up high teens, low 20s in the occasional like 35-point game. That's a really good 1-2 punch, especially on offense, you know. And then defense, I mean, that's pretty okay as well. And then if you look at the rest of the guys, I think Sabonis is interesting. My thing with him is going to be, what type of NBA player is he going to be? Because of right now, I feel like he can kind of go in a few different directions. He was willing to play off the ball and shoot some threes last year for OKC. And he started off hot, and then he kind of tapered off towards the end. But his jumper looks pretty good, if you ask me. The form is pretty okay. He looks comfortable. He shoots a good percentage from the free throw line. He's made some decent improvements this year from mid-range. I don't think he shoots too many mid-range jumpers. No, he doesn't. He doesn't shoot that many. But he is shooting nearly 40% from 10 to 16 feet. So it's going to be interesting to see, is he more of a guy who wants to roll to the basket, grab offensive rebounds, and just kind of muck it up around the basket, throw elbows and all that stuff, be physical? Or is he going to be a guy who's more about floaters and mid-range jumpers and potentially three-pointers? I don't know, maybe a combination of all the above. He is a damn good rebounder. If you look at the guys who actually play like a decent amount of games and put in a decent amount of minutes, Sabonis is around number 12 or so in offensive rebound percentage this season. That's pretty okay. And then defensive rebounding wise, he's one of the better players in the league as well. I don't think he has the offensive capabilities that Miles Turner does, but that's okay. I think Sabonis can be a quality piece to Indiana going forward. And then after those three, I mean, there's Glenn Robinson III. I think he can be a really good role player. If you look at some of their really young guys like TJ Leaf and Ben Moore and the guy whose last name I can't pronounce, but I'll just say Ike for his first name. I'll admit, I don't know too much about those guys. They could end up becoming players. But still, I think Oladipo and Turner is a really good foundation, and then it's going to be a matter of, can you hang on to some of these veterans? Because I think some of the veterans they have are pretty okay. I think Thad Young, while he is a little awkward, he's always found a way to figure it out. Whether it be attacking closeouts, cutting to the basket, that sort of thing, being a good transition player. They have a point guard rotation right now of Darren Collison and Corey Joseph. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Joseph. He's set to make $8 million next season if he accepts the player option. I do think there's a decent chance he could get less than that on the open market. I think the goal with Indiana really should be to hang on to enough of these veterans that they have right now, Lance Stevenson being another one, and keep the ones that you think can fit into the team well, and then keep on grooming Oladipo, Miles Turner, and then Sabonis to be real players for you. And then in a perfect world, Oladipo can be one of the, 15 best players in the league. Turner can grow into being like a top 30, maybe top 25 player. Sabonis can be a really good role player, maybe even a little better than that. And then from there, it's just a matter of doing well in the draft, and if a trade comes along for a potential player who you think can be good, but he wasn't used all the way correctly on his other team, you get that guy. One name who I actually just thought of for these guys. I know they were in the Aaron Gordon sweepstakes. I think I remember hearing that. And he and Miles Turner together could be really interesting. They would have to shed some salary to do this. Hopefully, if they were really in on Aaron Gordon, then I guess Thad Young or Corey Joseph would have to decline their player options, and you might have to find a way to trade Al Jefferson's contract. But another guy I was thinking about was kind of like Mario Hezonja for them, who could be a cheaper deal, and these guys haven't taken that many three-pointers this season. They've been good on the ones they've attempted, but that could give them an opportunity to be a little better of an offensive team, and it wouldn't cost you too much, and, it's an idea. But Indiana's good, man. I do think they got some good young players, and they should be exciting in the playoffs coming up. Good things down the road for the Pacers, and that's it.